Hello, James. Thank you for joining. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you, Dennis.
Good. I can see you are up in the mountains somewhere enjoying the winter.
Yeah, I still got my ski garb on. Snow's been awesome in Vermont, so I'm a happy puppy.
That's good. That's not something you hear about East Coast snow all the time. So
That's true. There's much more snow and less ice than usual, which is just pleasant. Although yesterday I managed to find some ice and fall on my hip, which is just note to self: remember not to fall.
that's
Good.
what skiing is, controlled falling. So.
Exactly. Exactly. Like how I build businesses, which is building the airplane while it's flying. So
Yeah, just you jump at the ground and miss. Anyway, thanks for joining. I always enjoy catching up with you and talking about what's going on in your world. And we've had some conversations recently, which I wanted to circle back on and talk a little bit more. But yeah, agentification is exploding in a big way in AI, and I know that's something that you're personally interested in, and certainly we are from the SETI aspect as well, being able to provide compute to agents and agent infrastructure. And there's a lot of agent infrastructure popping up. What kinds of things are you seeing from your end on the agent side of the market?
sometimes it's scary when real life replicates what you've been dreaming of for a decade. I read Neil Stephenson's book Snow Crash in like 1994, 95. It was written in 92. And he basically talked about metaverses and omnipresent bandwidth and individuals that would be reporting back news real time, peer to peer, and the ability to have avatars that would be algorithmically driven and self sovereign, that would be able to achieve tasks and have meetings and transmit information for you in 1992 before there was an internet, before there was a graphic interface for the internet. And I've been searching for that world, waiting for this to happen, knowing that it was right. And I traveled through Web 1, Web 2, e commerce. And then all of a sudden in 2015, I found Ethereum and Bitcoin and distributed ledger and realized that was the final piece, was the ability to transmit value as information. And then I've been working with picks and shovels and the infrastructure required to get to the point where we can have these self-sovereign agents that are driven by AI that can have a wallet attached to them and actually optimize and transact for us, removing the burden of monotonous work from our responsibilities of helping us optimize without having to spend time thinking about it, and just entering into the through the portal into this new world. And we're at that moment now, right? The compute is coming together, the software that meshes the compute together with the storage, together with the identity management, together with the value and the wallets. We're at that Cambrian explosion moment where there's stuff happening and some of it's working and some of it's not working, and carpetbaggers are coming in trying to do just use the name and do as fast as they can and rug pull each other, and everyone complains about how we need regulation, which I don't believe. We could talk about that in a second. That's what shows that this is real. This is how markets are formed. This is how technology impacts humanity. This is how mass adoption happens. And so we're in the middle of it, reeling around, trying to figure out what's going on. And we're actually, I believe, at the moment when the rubber is meeting the road.
I think you mentioned like something which is always good for me to remind myself of too, of like one of the reasons why blockchain is so important in this space is that it is the infrastructure of incentive, right? It is the reason or the mechanism by which agents can exist and interact with one another or with us or with you or with me. And without that infrastructure, it would be much more difficult to build it in a non Web3 kind of way where agents have the ability and the incentive to interact with one another. And I think that that's cool so far, insofar as like you want agents to shitpost for you on X. But is that what's next? Is there more than the X posting, shitposting agent in the near future? And what do you think is coming next?
I think all this goes back to my partner David Johnston's views. And he wrote a really interesting.
David Johnston, who's working on the Morpheus project right now.
He's one of the figureheads at Morpheus, and he wrote Johnston's Law. Everything that can be decentralized will be decentralized. That's in 2012. And in 2013, he wrote something called the General Theory of Decentralized Applications, where he basically created the concept of a dApp. And he said that they have to be tokenized, that they have to be managed and governed by the holders of the tokens, and that the token holders need to receive the benefit of the operation of the platform, so that you have the community that's benefiting as opposed to a capitalist or a third party central party. And the last thing he said is it has to be open source, because otherwise you can't trust it. And I think we're standing on the shoulders of people like David right now, because what's happened is that the AI and the agent world is forming as we speak to benefit and leverage from those aspects of what a DApp is and what you need to do to be in a decentralized environment and to incentivize and organize people to behave in a way that creates platforms that have use and are trustable. And so where we are right now is the movement from, hey, look what I can do, look at your screen, check out what I can do. We're about to get to why it matters. And so I think that we're right at the, I think your question is exactly right. We're right at the edge of that moment. And what's going to happen is I think we're going to start small, right? I think we're going to start seeing that, okay, it's great to have ChatGPT that can do anything. But the truth is, an attempt to do anything will obviously be bad at everything. And so what we're going to start to see are highly specialized, smaller, and even more personal LLMs and then agents that are able to access that data and be more useful because the data that they're using, that they're being directed to, has a better context. And so there's less garbage to filter out. So for instance, using Morpheus or similar platforms, I'll be able to drag and drop all my personal data, my contacts, my calendar, all the files and emails I've had over the years, my a real-time camera capture of all my interactions, and then being that specific to me, the AI no longer has to think about who the actor is. It's first person, and all of a sudden they can take that tremendous energy that's being applied to it and be much more efficient in giving a better answer from me because it doesn't have to worry about whether I'm a 12-year-old girl or a 90-year-old college professor. It knows exactly who I am, and so it can answer a lot faster what I'm doing next week, whether plans fit in, whether someone's philosophy agrees with my philosophy, how I would answer a question which gets asked to me over and over again, how I would direct people to the database of my speaking or my thoughts on the internet. And so all those things now can be packaged really nicely. So I think what will happen is we'll start small. And so we'll have private LLMs and AI. And then what's going to happen, and this is already happening, is we're going to start to have people who organize vertical industries. And what they do is they gather the information from the industry itself. And there'll be incentive models built in there around tokens, as you were talking about. And then so it'll be beneficial for me to contribute because by contributing, I'll have the right to withdraw and use the collective knowledge of my industry and be protected by things by zero knowledge proof and other forms of cryptography that will enable me to decide which pieces of information are personal to me and which ones I'm willing to share. And if I'm willing to share them, with who am I willing to share them? And is there an economic transaction, involved in my sharing that information? So we can not only have better answers and have better guidance from our AI tools and from avatars, but also we'll start to be able to make a market in our data. OpenAI is worth $500 billion, or it was before DeepSeek came out. But the reason it's worth so much is because they have a centralized model where basically they're, as the Mormons would say, they're stealing our souls,
Mm.
right? And so each of us is worth around $40,000 on average. They have a couple billion of those. And so all of a sudden, do the math, they're worth $500 billion, right? But that $40,000, that's yours, that's mine,
Mm.
right? And what we need is the infrastructure that enables us to keep that. Forget giving it away to centralized profit-driven entities. Keep it for ourselves, and all of a sudden you have universal basic income. Right? People would want to market to me. I'll surrender my data, buy some tokens from me, or give me some of your tokens, and all of a sudden I should be able to approximate $20,000 to $40,000 a year just for allowing my information to be used by marketers to the extent that I decide that I want to do it.
Your information, your time, your attention. Let's not forget that these agents, if we get to this point, which I believe we will soon, are out there representing us as far as our reputation is concerned and who we are as individuals and our identity as well.
They'll have their own identity, which is interesting. Some of them will be attached to you, and some of them you will be able to figure out how to bring back to you. But honestly, at some point, the agents are going to have their own reputation score on their as individuals.
Yes, it's like X. Like you're on X personally, you can also have an alt if you want, and you can be anonymous on X. And it'll be the same for agents too. That and I think like one of the things that like so one of the first industries, of course, will be crypto that decentralized agents, anyways, will be able to participate fully in. I want to know not just what new projects are happening in this space, but what would be of interest to me and what are worthwhile. There's too much as for any one person to be able to research on their own. But an agent being out there, like representing me personally, asking questions, joining communities, finding out about new projects firsthand, and assessing if this is something that I should be interested or participating in can be really valuable to me, even just within the crypto vertical before you even talk about everything else.
I get asked the same question 17 times a day, which is always about mass adoption, either by a doubting Thomas or by someone who wants it to happen or by a corporate. And the answer is that these things, technology doesn't get mass adoption until the understanding of the technology is obviated, until you no longer need it. And so what's happening now is it's still a little bit difficult to do something real with it. So you still need some technical background, some proficiency, because the tools aren't there yet that sit above as a meta layer. And what's happening now is AI is helping people write AI. Right? AI is helping people write code. And so we're just at that nascent stage again of an explosion, because there'll be more and more people that will be able to use their voice and simple English or whatever language they speak to communicate their intent, and then have that assembled and created into an app by AI itself. And I think we're at the edge of that right now.
Yeah, I agree. You were telling me too about the role of base chain in all of this recently. I think Solana gets a lot of attention, or it certainly did in 2024 with the meme coin narrative. But Base seems to be like of growing significance, especially now with Venice doing their token launch on Base. What are your thoughts on Base chain and agents and decentralized AI in general?
To me, crypto in the long run, knowledge of crypto and of the tokens and of the protocols cannot be required. If they are required, we are not going to get mass adoption. And until then, it's the easiest modalities to use, the ones that produce the least friction and the highest percent of success are the ones that are going to work. And Base has positioned itself really beautifully because it's essentially just Ethereum without gas fees.
Yes.
And so anyone who can write Rust or anyone who can write for Ethereum or any other EVM can write for Base. And it's as close to being the core code as you possibly can get. And Coinbase did a fantastic job of taking out the friction of how you use these tokens. Nothing is more frustrating than trying to make a transfer and having MetaMask tell you you don't have enough of the base token to do the transaction, and then you spend the next half hour forgetting what you were trying to do originally because you're scrounging around to try and get millicents into an account somewhere, or
Mm.
even worse, tens or $20 to do a transaction. And so they've done a really good job of making it KISS. It's just really simple. And that's where the on the EVM chains, the liquidity has moved towards Base. It's become the common arbiter with the protocols. Arbitrum is also good. And there's a few others that are picking up, but right now Base is pretty hard to knock off its pedestal. Solana is interesting because it's rocket fast. It doesn't do anything really except accounting and act as a monetary substitute. And it has the added benefit that every time volume goes up and something gets exciting, the chain crashes. Any other chain
How do you know
that has a
something's popular?
exactly, but the chain crashes 2, 3 times a year, right? And then you sit around tapping your finger, and and Coinbase says, "Well, we're not really sure, but we're trying to fix it." It's like Microsoft wrote your dashboard for your car. But it's what's amazing about Solana is that given those problems that they've had continually and repeatedly, it's still one of the hottest, if not the hottest chain out there, and everyone just shrugs off the problems, which I think is interesting because there's other worlds and other chains where stuff like that happens and they're dead for life. So
Yeah, yeah.
Solana does have some kind of nine lives kind of thing going on there, and God bless the chain.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely interesting. But Base in particular, I think you nailed it. This is like the sweet spot, right? They can tap into the network effect of Ethereum because they're using ETH as gas. You can develop on Base the same as you would develop on Ethereum, and it's cheap. So yeah, it is probably a natural spot for things to
And it's
converge.
and it's fa and it's fast. It's just right now the easiest, most best human
It's
interface,
fast.
and fast matters, right? Remember when Google first came out, the only thing they said, they had a search bar and they had how long it took to do the search,
Yeah.
right? And that's the whole thing. And that's what we have to get back to, because people don't wanna right now you go to DeepSeek and you put in a request, it takes 2, 3 minutes, you're sitting there staring at it. I don't know, I have the same personality as my dog. A butterfly goes by, and I can't remember what I was thinking about 2 minutes ago. I think it's important to you press a button, get the answer, have the transaction, get the finality, and have it being recorded in a non-transmutable ledger, and then go on and do the next thing.
It's funny you mentioned DeepSeek. I should let you know that SETI is doing inference or running the DeepSeek model right now too. In fact, we're running a number of different models that seem to be pretty popular. All the ones that would be used, you would find on Venice, for example. And we're about to expose those for demo purposes through our website. So you can go and, for demo purposes, use DeepSeek on the SETI website, talseti.ai, and you won't have these huge delays or wait times that you would get from using the DeepSeek app itself because we're running it on our compute as well. So
I think that's I mentioned SETI to a platform that's basically trying to replace Google by giving you a search box that has far better responses than the native LLMs have, and quicker. So basically, it's a search box, and I told them just put the search and the amount of time it takes to return. And basically, instead of getting a bunch of listings back, you get the answer annotated with links. And I told them to reach out to SETI and talk to you guys about, because they're centralized. And I told them I'd be happy to invest and I'd be happy to work with them, but only if they move towards decentralized model. And I thought that was going to be a moment of friction. And the guy came back and said, I completely agree with you. We just don't know how to do it. So I started talking about Morpheus. Now Morpheus is a router. And then I started talking about the DPIN layer and companies like SETI that understand that the DPIN is only as valuable as the software that you have that makes it available to the general requests. So they're going to reach out to you. That's called Caesar, like Julius Caesar XYZ.
very cool. Yeah, so you'll soon be able to demo like all these models on our website. But yeah, to your point, you can, if you want to consume them in large quantities, you could do that today through the Morpheus blockchain. And SETI Compute is providing all of these popular models on Morpheus today.
I love that idea, Dennis, of putting a page on our SETI website, which is ways that you can use the query paths that SETI is part of. And so
Yes,
basically initiate those searches, which then come back and hit our servers, just to get people to understand who we are and what SETI is about. Because I think
precisely.
right now it's if a tree falls in the forest and it doesn't make a sound, or no one's there to hear it, doesn't make a sound. And I think we're at that phase. You guys have been so smart and ahead of the curve in terms of using a token system to acquire hardware, of having the hardware be available, the right hardware, of wanting to be part of a marketplace opportunity where people can, bid for compute in a real-time basis without having to buy, and to be part of a decentralized environment which protects the, humanity, which is very important to me. And so I think that
Thank you.
it's just a matter of time before we get recognized as part of this bigger movement that's happening. I don't think the public is ready yet to really understand how this works. But I think when they do, companies like SETI will be the backbone for how it happens.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we'll be there in the background just working, and they won't even need to know. And that'll be the best.
That is the best.
Yeah,
Because then it comes down to, are you providing your SLA service and, as promised, at a good price, which is close enough to the request so that the timing works. And then this marketplace is going to grow so fast that there isn't going to be enough compute to support the uses of AI over the next 10, 15 years. So we're
yeah.
definitely going to be in a seller's market.
Thank you, James. I appreciate that you taking the time. I know it's getting late for you there tonight. I just wanted to spend a few minutes catching up with you. It's always wonderful talking to you. Thank you very much. Any final thoughts that you'd like to share with everybody?
If you don't mind, can I put in a 2-minute advertisement for DAIS?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
For Deus, yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. With Michael Casey and Alex Karpova, we have the Decentralized AI Society, which now has about 15 members who are founding members. Our first member, I'm proud to say, was SETI, and I really appreciate you and the team's faith in us. It's developed into a really interesting society that travels around the world and goes to the major crypto and AI events, has a DEAI day, which is builders presenting, drinking pizza and beer, and talking about what's really happening. And the evening, we have dinners of 60 or 70 people that are the founders of the biggest protocols, the big VCs. We now have Stanford, UCLA, MIT, SUNY Binghamton, and Imperial College as part of our academic wing. And we're just going to start publishing research that benefits the industry. And the idea is to create that place where we can all get together of a like mind to protect humanity from what could be the crippling effects of centralized AI and centralized intelligence. And so, while it starts with a philosophical bent, it's doers who really care, who are trying to build the opportunity for individuals and for us as humanity to interact with AI in a safe way where our information is protected and where the information that we glean is not used against us, but by the society.
It's that mission that made it a no-brainer for us to be a founding member of DAIS, and it's the social connection to all of the doers, as you say, on an ongoing basis that adds tremendous value. So, like, I recommend that if you're really serious in this space, you're founder of an organization that is focused on decentralized AI in any way, that you should definitely consider being a member of the DAIS, the Decentralized AI Society. We are proud to be a founding member. Yes.
Thank you so much. So it's DAIS, DAIS dot global, and then you'll see my beautiful face and you'll know you're in the right place.
Awesome. Thank you once again, James. Appreciate having you on today's podcast.
Much love, Dennis. I look forward to seeing you soon.